you applied for your visa at the same embassy at the same time as your friends or coworkers or schoolmates or family or whoever, and some of your applications have been already approved, some of them has not been approved yet, some of them have been approved like a long time ago, and you're wondering what's wrong with your application. So like, will you be denied, or is it normal, or what's gonna happen now? So in today's video, I will answer all these questions. So the most important thing, or if you want to compare something, you can only compare people who applied for the same type of visa at the same embassy on the same day. Okay? If some of these vary, then the result can vary a lot as well. Because if you apply for a different type of visa, there might be different approval times. For example, for a student visa, it's 60 days, but for family reunification residence permit, it can be up to 270 days. So you cannot compare different visa types, or like if one of you applies for a student visa and the other applies for a student residence permit, you cannot compare it either. So you always need to compare the same type of visa. Second, you can only compare if all of you or the people you are trying to compare applied at the same embassy. Because I will talk about it a bit later, but embassies don't make decisions. They all just send the documents back to the Czech Republic. And there are different rules for that. And that can very much influence the whole process. If you apply in Dresden in Germany, or if you apply in New Delhi in India, that will make a huge, significant difference in the approval time. So you can only compare if you applied at the same embassy, and then also applying at the same time, basically on the same day. If you apply a different day or a completely different month, like if you say, hey, I applied for my visa in September and it took this long, and now it's January and it takes this long, like how is it possible? Then there are also seasons, and like in higher seasons, obviously the approval takes longer. In lower seasons, the approval takes shorter time. So you cannot compare. Even if there is 1 day difference, it can make a huge difference in the outcome. So you can always only compare these three things if they are all at the same, like if they are all the same type of visa or residence permit, same embassy, same day. Otherwise, makes no sense to compare. And I will explain now why. So first thing is that the embassy, or okay, I'll start with the type of visa. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, every type of visa or every type of residence permit has a different approval times, and they can be very significantly different. Like as I mentioned, 60 days for the student residence permit, student visa, and 270 days for family reunification residence permit. Even if you apply for a business visa, it can be 90 to 120 days. So there are big differences, and you cannot really compare different types of visas. So always need to stick to the same ones, because only then it's comparable. And if you're interested, I made another video about the approval times of different applications. So you scroll down in my channel or just search there and find the video if you're interested in that. Second thing is applying at the same embassy. Because the thing is that embassies do not make decisions about long-term visas, long-term residence permits. They basically only take the documents from you. They might do the interview with you, but then they send everything to the Czech Republic, to the Ministry of the Interior for the decision. So if you apply in India, your documents must be physically shipped to the Czech Republic, and that can take 3 weeks, 4 weeks, sometimes even longer. We had a client in Australia, and it took them like 4 or 5 weeks to even get the application delivered to the Czech Republic. That means 4 to 5 weeks, nothing is happening, because your application is somewhere in an envelope, on a plane to the Czech Republic, or on a ship, or if it took 5 weeks, that was probably on a horse. So, yeah, like if you apply, on the other hand, say in Dresden, which is 2 hours drive, then the application or the documents will be at the ministry probably in a week. So you cannot really compare different embassies, and you cannot compare even like the close ones. You know, if you apply, I don't know what could be close. Let's say you apply in the US or you apply in Canada. So it's basically the same distance to the Czech Republic, but you cannot really compare that either, because that's not only that the embassies have to send all the documents to the Czech Republic and the traveling time can be different, but it also depends on what is the, let's say, schedule of the embassy, because they don't send it like every day. Like they deal with your application, they put it into envelope and send it to the Czech Republic. They would deal with someone else's application, they put it into envelope, send it to the Czech Republic. They send it in like books, and sometimes maybe they send it every day, maybe they send it once a week, maybe they send it every Wednesday, maybe they send it once in 2 weeks when they pile more applications at the same time. So every embassy has a different procedure as well. So you cannot compare even these close, like even if you apply within the US, if you apply in Washington, DC, or you apply in Los Angeles, the delivery times can be completely different. So you always can only compare the same embassy. And then another thing is that you can only compare applications submitted on the same day. That mainly is related to what I was talking about now, that they have different procedures on processing applications or sending them back to the Czech Republic. So if they send everything on Fridays and you apply it on Monday, then you will have to wait until Friday to like get your application sent. If you apply it on Thursday, that will be sent the next day. Or if you apply it on Friday, that will be sent the same day. So there obviously already is, in the beginning of the process, there is some time difference. So you cannot compare people who applied like on Monday and on Tuesday. Okay, you have to always compare exactly the same date. That's like the general rules, which kind of already can make a huge difference. But let's say you applied at the same embassy, same day, same type of application, and you still get a different result. And that is possible. And that can also have many reasons. Some of them, of course, something might be incorrect with your documents. That can happen. You could have made some mistake, or there is something weird about your application. Also, if you did the interview, that's also very personal and very, very subjective. So depending on your answers, also the decision might take a different time. But okay, that's one thing. Something can be wrong with your application. But what is most likely to happen is that obviously, if let's say, again, India or whatever embassy, they always wait for 100 applications to like have set of 100 applications, and then they mail it to the Czech Republic. Obviously, the 100 applications don't go to the same person for the decision. And even if they did, that would cause a very big delay, because if one person needs to deal with 100 applications, the application which they start with will be obviously approved sooner than the 100th one, okay? And then can be like a very long like time difference in between these. But even if they split the application, so they send like 100 applications and this person gets 10, this decision maker gets 10, this decision maker gets 10, it can also make a significant difference, because different people have different approaches to application, and they are also differently efficient, let's say. Or someone can get sick, you know? Your decision maker, the decision maker, the person who is making the decision about your case can get sick, can not go to the work for 1 day or 2 weeks or whatever. And obviously all the applications will wait there until the person comes back. And even if nothing happens, they're healthy and like alive and everything, they have a different approach, different way of approving applications. So some decision makers might check the same documents with all applications. So they will only check proof of accommodation of all the 10 applications they got. And only once that is done, they will start with another. So then they might actually approve 10 applications at the same time when they check all the documents. Another person might go one by one. They first want to finish one application, so they will check every single document of the application, and then they go to the next application. And also this approach can make a very significant difference. So the fact that your application is not approved yet and someone else's is already approved doesn't mean anything. And you should not really get worried about that. As I mentioned in many of my previous videos, if the application process or the approval process have been taking too long or has been taking some time, you just should wait and don't really do nothing. Don't call the embassy don't send them email, because the embassies don't make the decision anyway. So you give them the documents and they send them to the Czech Republic. So if you contact them in 2 weeks, what they will tell you? Yeah, we don't have your documents here because we don't make the decision, so we don't know anything. So it makes no sense to contact the embassy. You cannot reach the Ministry of the Interior either, because you're in the country of origin and you have no idea like where it is and how to contact them. And they would not tell you anything anyway, because they cannot verify you on the phone or via email, so they cannot tell you anything. So that makes no sense. And if the ministry is within the legal deadlines, so if, let's say, they have 60 days for a student visa, your friend has been approved in 3 weeks, and now it's like 7 weeks and you're still not approved, the ministry is still within the legal deadline. So you cannot even contact them, or you should not contact them, because that could even like piss them off and they could complicate your process. So I understand it might be nerve-wracking that you just have to sit and you see all your friends being approved and your application is still not approved, and you worry, and your school starts soon or your job starts soon, or you want to be with your family. It's all stressful and everything, but the best thing you can do in most cases is just wait for a week longer or 2 weeks longer, or wait until the ministry reaches the official timeline for the visa approvals, and then act. Then you can send a letter, send a polite letter, send a complaint letter, whatever you want. But until they reach the official timeline or the deadline for the decisions, makes no sense to do anything. So hopefully this was helpful. Let me see, Sunny Kumar probably ask a question, so I'll answer that and then I'll go home. Hi sir, MOI is still holiday or open, because when I check my application website, not showing there. Everything is open. The ministry works. As I mentioned, it can take a couple of weeks before someone even starts checking your application. So if you submitted your application in December, it's possible that they still haven't started working on that yet, because that was effectively just the first half of December. If your application was sent during the time, probably it wasn't delivered until the end of the year. And at the end of the year, no one really works at the ministry anyway, like between Christmas and the New Year's Eve. And maybe now they will start working on applications again. So that's completely fine. It can take a very long time, so don't worry. Okay, so another question, Rajendra Prasad Radhakrishnan. What are all the ways to save taxes as an Indian immigrant for yearly tax return? That would be a better question for an accountant. We'll be actually sending an email newsletter to all our clients, about 16,000 emails towards the end of this month, with all the different changes, because there have been so many changes in the tax laws in the Czech Republic from the 1st of January of this year. But if you want to know how to save on taxes, definitely contact an accountant. If you need a tip, if you need a recommendation, get in touch and I'll be sharing details of the accountant we work with and we're very happy with. But that's only one thing. Accountant is one thing and saving on taxes, but you also need to think about your residence permit and how the taxes are related to that. Because if your residence permit depends on your income, then maybe saving on taxes is not a good idea, because you might not be able to extend your stay in the Czech Republic. So guys, thank you very much again, and see you on Thursday, Monday, until the end of the world. Good night.